I am 20 years old and I make roughly $80,000 per year. So, to start things off, I don't want this video to sound like I am bragging or boasting my financial situation. I just want to be completely transparent. This video is mainly just financial conversation that I wish I had when I was a couple years younger, maybe starting high school, maybe starting college, and just kind of trying to decide where to go in life and really what to value as I look towards joining the workforce. You are always going to be ahead of some people in some facet of your life, and you are always going to be behind some people in that same and other facets of your life. So, some of the comparisons I make in this video are somewhat arbitrary, and the real point of the video is to make the best of where you're at and progress, and to just highlight the situation that I happen to find myself in through the chance of this game of life. Getting right into it, I think it's also very important that I mention that I have my bachelor's degree in finance from a 4-year state university. This degree enabled me to get the current job position that I have and has enabled the kickstart to my career. So I will be breaking down my education experience in this video as well as my financial situation. Now, like I said, I am only 20 years old, so how did I get a 4-year degree in roughly 2 years post graduating high school at 18 years old? This leads us into the first main topic I want to talk about in this video: compounding returns. Now, I'm going to connect the topic of compounding returns not to money, but rather to knowledge in general. Typically, when you think compounding returns, you might think compound interest, investing now versus investing later. Money now is worth more than money later. Money invested now will grow. Now, in my case, this concept applied very directly to my education and my approach to my education, especially in high school, leading into college. Now, I'm going to ramble a little bit here, but starting in ninth grade was when high school officially started in where I grew up, meaning it was the first year I could actually take AP classes and concurrent enrollment classes. And if you don't have these at your school or where you went to high school, these are essentially classes that give you college credit, but you're allowed to take them while in high school. Concurrent enrollment classes are typically offered through a local university, and you'll receive credit through that local university, while AP is more of a nationwide program. Anyways, I don't know why. My parents never pushed me. They never really cared about my grades. They never really checked on my grades. They never really checked on my homework if I was getting schoolwork done. But I was very self-motivated in school to push myself and take these college credit granting classes. So from ninth grade through 12th grade, I took all AP, all CE classes, letting me graduate high school with my associate's degree through a local university. This meant that when I started my undergraduate finance degree, I already had 100 credit hours that somewhat applied to my major. Not all of them applied. My associate's degree was actually in the Spanish language, so most of the undergraduate prerequisites for my finance degree were actually not met by my associate's degree. However, many of the generals actually did apply, so I was significantly ahead in this area. Starting my undergraduate degree in the fall of 2023, I was actually able to graduate in the fall of 2025. Similarly to high school, I really pushed myself on the workload I took on in my undergraduate degree by taking 18 to 21 credit hours every single semester. Anyways, sorry for the long ramble, but that kind of explains how I got to where I am with my education so quickly by the age of 20. where many undergraduate students aren't graduating till 22 to 24 years old. My point is that learning and knowledge and experience compound just like money does. This compounding originates from my consistency with pushing myself very hard in school to take as many AP, CE classes, as well as taking heavy workload once I actually got to college. Consistently pushing myself in school allowed me to graduate with my 4-year degree at 20 years old. But why does this even matter? Why does it matter if you graduate at 20 years old versus 22 years old versus 24 years old? To fully answer this question, I need to break down my income, so I will get back to this question here in a minute. Let's run through a quick breakdown of my income. I know I started the video by saying I make roughly $80,000 per year, and technically this is calculated after all my benefits have been weighed in. So my actual base salary is only $65,000 per year. Quickly running through my benefits, I make a $575 per month stipend, which is technically for a car or car payment. I have to drive roughly 40 miles to and from work when I go into the office. I'm kind of on a hybrid schedule, so I'm in as many days a week as I want as long as the work gets done, but I tend to go in 3 days a week. So that kind of covers the cost of car and car usage getting to and from the office. Doing some quick math, $575 per month times 12 months means on top of my base salary, I'm receiving another $6,900 per month, putting me at roughly $71,900 salary for the year. On top of this car stipend, I also have a gas card, which covers the cost of gas getting to and from work, which I would value the benefit of at roughly $2,000 to $3,000 per year. So let's say conservatively $2,000 per year added onto that 71,900. That puts me roughly at $73,900. On top of this current cumulative salary of $73,900, I also receive a benefit for health insurance and dental coverage. However, since I'm 20 years old, I can actually stay on my parents' group coverage, which is pretty awesome until I am 26. My parents are happy to keep me on, which is a fantastic place to be in. Super grateful to have my parents supporting me in that way. But this also means that I don't need the employer provided health insurance coverage. So I've worked it out with my employer to where I can just reallocate that expensed amount for what my health insurance would be as additional income each month. I'm estimating that would roughly come in at around $500 per month, which again, doing some simple math, $500 per month times 12 months is $6,000. Added on to that cumulative salary of $73,900, putting us at roughly $79,900 or $100 short of $80,000 per year in total salary compensation. Now that we have that out of the way, getting back to the question of why does graduating, getting employed, getting on salary at 20 versus 22 or even 24 or later matter? The truthful answer is compounding, this compounding effect that I've been talking about the entire video. Because I graduated 2 years earlier, I'm able to get a job 2 years earlier and start getting real world experience 2 years earlier. So by the time my classmates graduate in 2 or more years, I will already have hopefully 2 years of experience as long as I can keep my employment status as active. And while they are just starting to get work experience, I will continue to build my work experience, meaning I will always be a couple years ahead, again, as long as my employment status continues to be active. This accelerated experience and greater experience history will compound because as I'm applying for jobs or opportunities that my classmates my same age are applying for, I will have greater experience for similar roles, meaning I will be able to move up the ladder slightly quicker, in theory, obviously, which again, in theory, will snowball into a career full of slightly higher experience and, in turn, slightly more responsibilities in my roles. Again, snowballing into more experience with higher responsibilities, which again goes back to what we can call this compounding effect. Not only is this seen in experience gain, but this is also seen financially. Again, assuming my employment status continues to stay active after 2 years, just using simple math, not even factoring in raises or investing, after 2 years, roughly $80,000 times two is, in theory, $160,000 of personal capital that I'm able to invest, save, deploy towards a house or whatever else I find worth financially spending capital towards. My expenses right now are honestly extremely low. So let's assume that I can invest 50% of my income over the next 2 years, investing twice a month whenever I get paid in a retirement account at market average returns. This investment across the 2 years would be roughly worth, in today's dollars, $85,000, which is a great place to be versus spending 2 more years in school. The message of this video that I really wish I could have told my younger self, who really didn't know why he was doing the things he was doing, who didn't know why he was pushing himself in school, who didn't know why he was going to graduate early and really push for that as just a life goal. The message is that it will pay off, right? And these investments in yourself, spending more time working on classes when you could be doing other things, hanging out with friends, having fun. Yes, you still make time for that, but pushing yourself is the reason you're able to put yourself just a little bit ahead, compounding your returns in your experience in work and also your compensation and pay, which will hopefully compound over the rest of your life, the rest of your career, and really just set you up pretty nicely. And whether you're the 16-year-old self that I wish I could have sent this video to, you're the 20-year-old me who is in the here and now, or you're 35 years old and just a little further down the road than I am, it's worth it to invest in your education. It's worth it to work hard and be the best self you can be. And it might not make sense in the moment. It might be frustrating or feel pointless in the moment, but it definitely will have returns in the long run if you're consistently working hard and working towards these goals. That's honestly it for this video. If you enjoyed this style of content, consider subscribing and maybe leave a comment of where you're at in your life journey. Maybe it'll help me or someone else figure out what we're doing next in our lives.